victory, for the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory, for the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory, for the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory, for the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory, for the battle belongs to you, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. Sing holy.
6, verse 1 says, as I watched, we are still in the book of Revelation, the Lamb broke the first of the 7 seals on the scroll. Then I heard one of the 4 living beings say with a voice like thunder, come. You see, last week we continued to remind ourselves that the Lamb is in control. The Lamb is worthy to take the scroll. And so he has the scroll in his hands here in chapter 6. And as he breaks the seals, we see the destiny of the world being revealed step by step before the scroll is opened and read. Even before the scroll that the Lamb has in his hand is opened, and the destiny of the world is read, and the history of the world is read. Even before that moment, already we see what is going to happen. The destiny is being revealed step by step. And so my message title this morning is Breaking the Seals, Judgment. Breaking the Seals, Judgment. Verse 2 says, I looked up and saw a white horse standing there. Its rider carried a bow, and a crown was placed on his head. He rode out to win many battles and gain the victory. The NIV says, he rode out as a conqueror, bent on conquest. The New King James version says, he went out conquering and to conquer. The English Standard Version says, he came out conquering and to conquer. He rode out to win many battles and to gain the victory. You can write this down if you're taking notes. Number 1, a white horse and a man that conquers. A white horse and a man that conquers. Is this the Antichrist? A lot of people, a lot of scholars believe it is. So possibly, yes, this is the Antichrist. But even if it is not the Antichrist, this whole scene seems to prepare the road or everything for the Antichrist to come into existence. It prepares the way for the Antichrist. This agenda to conquer and to control the world is being unfolded even now. Even today, even in this moment in history, we see that all over the world, things are happening, laws are being passed, things are changing, governments are doing things where they seem to have more and more, or trying to have more and more control over the citizens of any country. We have so many things happening. We have digital ID. Now we see that the World Economic Forum, they have a deadline for this thing in 2025, but they have, I think it's by 2030, they hope that the entire world, or 90% of the world, will have digital IDs. They want to have digital cash. So currency, your money is going to fall away. You're no longer going to be transacting in cash or doing your own transactions that as you want it. There is going to be something where you will no longer be able to go to a bank and draw out notes or currency from an ATM machine. Everything you're going to do is going to be digital. Recently, we had global lockdown enforcement, right? It was just declared a national state of disaster, not only in South Africa, across the world. The world went into lockdown. And yes, a lot of people, and even for a while it was, yes, to manage us and to keep us safe. But then it just continued and it continued and it continued. And a lot of people began to question, is government just trying to overreach or just trying to control its citizens? What's happening? We had vaccination, and in many countries, vaccination was enforced on its citizens. We had restrictions in gatherings, restrictions in so many places, and then other places had no restrictions, or other things had no restrictions, and people began to question, like, why are there restrictions here but no restrictions there? It didn't always make sense. Listen, what about the agenda that we are seeing right now to capture the minds and the hearts of people to believe more and more that you and I, we can reject the agenda that God created us with? That we can reject our birth-given gender identity. We can choose what kind of individual or person we would like to identify ourselves as. We can make the choice. And we can choose who or what we identify as. And some people identify, they are born male, they choose to identify as female. Some people are born female, they choose to identify as male. Some people choose that they have no identity. Some people choose that they are like teacup, I don't know, kettle, whatever. They have just strange ways of identifying themselves. People just do that. It doesn't make sense to some of us, does it? But this is really the world in which we are living, that you can choose to identify as whatever thing you choose to identify as. And in some countries right now, laws are being passed where parents cannot decide what their children choose to identify as, or call themselves, or believe about their bodies. And in many countries, young children are encouraged to just identify as whatever they want. They can choose to change their agenda, and you as a parent have no choice in the matter. If your child decides, I was born a female, but I want to be a male, and I want to have an operation that changes my body. In many countries, parents have no choice in the matter. You have no choice. You can't choose for your child. And if you decide that you are not going to allow this, you stand you stand to lose your child. They can take your child away from you. You are in danger of losing your children in some countries in the world. It is crazy what the world is doing right now. And you know what? This is all a way to control. And you as a parent are not allowed to speak out or to whatever. Countries, nobody's allowed to discriminate. Nobody's allowed to do that. This is just a way of controlling people. Right now, the stage is being set for the rider on the white horse to go out conquering and to conquer, to win many battles and to gain victory. Is this rider on the white horse the Antichrist? Many scholars believe it could very well be. Yes, he comes on a white horse as a hero, as a leader, perhaps as a savior. He's the one who's going to save this world. But his goal is simply to conquer. His goal is to rule. His goal is to subdue. And as the seals are broken, so that this scroll that most likely contains the history and the future of mankind can be revealed, as these seals are broken one at a time. The seals bring judgment over the world, but this is not even the final judgment, because the scroll is going to unveil what is going to happen in the end. The scroll is going to reveal the history of mankind, and the scroll is going to reveal the destiny of mankind, and the scroll is going to seal forever the destiny of mankind and what we choose in this world. The first seal brings a white horse and a man that conquers, a man that wins many battles, a man that gains victory. And maybe it's not a man, because maybe that man comes later, but it's definitely something that leads to that man or that system. It leads to a world of people where most, probably almost all are controlled, conquered, enslaved. Verse 3 says, when the Lamb broke the second seal, I heard the second living being say, come. Then another horse appeared, a red one. Its rider was given a mighty sword and the authority to take peace from the earth. And there was war and slaughter everywhere. There was war and slaughter everywhere. Write this down if you're taking notes. Number 2, a red horse and war and violence or murder. A red horse and war and violence or murder. Matthew 24 verse 6, Jesus speaking about the end times. He speaks about the end times in chapter 24 and chapter 25 of Matthew. Verse 6, he says, you will hear of wars and threats or rumors of wars. He says, nation will go against nation and kingdom against kingdom. In this world of violence that we are currently living in, it seems that people just kill each other for fun. It just seems that, people just have no problem to murder somebody else. It just seems like this is like a normal thing in society. Right now, in the first quarter of this financial year, 2022 and 2023, this financial year, 6,424 people were killed in South Africa. That is from the end of last year to the beginning of this year. Just recently, if you watch the news over the last couple of days, you saw that 10 people were killed in a house in Pietermaritzburg. 10 family members, most of them, killed in a house. The shocking thing about that is, I think it was last year or the year before, the father of that same household was also murdered in the same way. Killed, shot dead. 6 men killed, shot dead in a house in Ocean View. 2 boys killed, their bodies mutilated in Soweto just over the last few days. On Easter Sunday morning in a church in Khayelitsha, maybe you saw that 18 women raped and sexually assaulted in a church building. They went to the church service early to prepare for the Easter Sunday service, probably cooking food, I don't know what and the choir was there, and it was just a bunch of women. And 2 guys walked in and they did this horrible thing to them in church on a Sunday morning during load shedding. Think of the violence and the murders every week almost in our community in Atlantis. Violence. But it's going to get a lot worse when the second seal is broken. A red horse and war and violence and murder. Can you think of a world where things gets worse than what it is like today? It's going to get a lot worse. South Africa seems to be out of control, doesn't it? It just seems to be completely out of control at the moment. But then, over the world, across the world, crime continues to spiral out of control as well. Verse 5, when the Lamb broke the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living being say, come. I looked up and I saw a black horse, and his rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice from among the 4 living beings say, a loaf of wheat bread or 3 loaves of barley will cost a day's pay, and don't waste the olive oil and wine. Number 3, you can write this down. A black horse and poverty and injustice and scarcity. A black horse and poverty and injustice and scarcity. A couple of years ago, we were in Zambia. Our team was in Zambia, and a loaf of bread in places like Zambia and Zimbabwe at that time cost thousands in their own currency. Already a few years ago, I remember the one day we went to buy a loaf of bread, and I think it was their currency is kwatsa. A loaf of bread in 2005, I think, when we were there, 45,000 kwatsa. 45,000 kwatsa. For a lot of Zambians, they could not afford to buy a loaf of bread. The poor could not afford to buy a loaf of bread. But the time is coming when bread will be unaffordable across the world. Poverty and injustice will increase. Food will be scarce. You see, the poor is getting poorer. I don't know if you know that, but the poor is getting poorer. In South Africa, 49% of South Africans are poor. That means 49% of South Africans earn less than 1,200 rand a month. And most of them are abjectly poor. In other words, they have nothing. They don't even earn anything like that. They don't even earn a single cent. The poor is getting poorer. And more people are getting poorer. More people are getting poorer. Poverty is increasing, it's rising, it's expanding. And those in power, what do? They just steal from the poor. They continue to steal from the poor. Injustice is increasing. And there's going to be a time in the world where there will be those who have. There will be very few, and those who have not. And they will be in the majority. And injustice will increase, and the Antichrist and his system and everything that he does will favor those who worship him, who has the mark of the beast, and who does what he wants them to do, and they will be favored, and the rest will be suffering. Right now, at this moment in South Africa, in fact in the Western Cape, do you know how many homeless people there are? There are 14,000 homeless people in the Western Cape right now. In South Africa, 61% of the homeless people in our country are colored people. Do you know that? 61% of homeless people are colored people. 38% make up black and white people in this country. 1% is about 1% of foreign nationals. But this number is going to continue to increase, and during this time of the black horse and what it brings, it's going to be a lot worse. It's going to get a lot worse. In Matthew 24, Jesus speaks to his disciples about the end times. 24 and 25, and we divide the Bible into chapters. It makes it easier for us to understand it. But it's just a whole passage, a whole sermon, a whole passage. You know, there's no chapter in the original message that Jesus gave. 24 and 25 are just one message. In 24, Jesus said, don't panic, because these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. What things? All of the things that I've already mentioned, it must take place. This thing of just going out and trying to capture the world, trying to subdue the world, trying to conquer the world. This thing of violence and murder and wars and all these things that will happen. It's just going to continue to get worse. You know, the end won't follow immediately. He said, this is only the first of the birth pains with more to come. I'm not sharing this message to bring doom and gloom. It might feel that it is. But I want to challenge us as believers, because I know that some of us might believe that the rapture is going to take place and we're not going to experience all of this. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But if you believe that, it's fine. I'm not saying that you are wrong. All I'm saying is that you need to be ready. Because if it doesn't happen and you are here, then you need to be ready. There need to be a response from your side. You need to know what you are going to have to do from your side. And Jesus, speaking to his disciples in chapter 24, he's telling them about the great time of tribulation that's going to come over the world, leading up to the Antichrist being revealed. And in Matthew 25, he calls on his servants. He says the master and his servants. He's speaking about his servants. He's calling on them to remain faithful. He says that they must be like the 5 wise virgins who took extra oil that can last till the midnight, or maybe last through the midnight. Why? Because we don't know the hour of his return. That's what he said. We don't know the hour of his return. So take extra oil, take extra whatever you need to do. Make sure that you are ready to last till the midnight, or last through the midnight. That's why I'm saying, if you believe that the rapture is going to take place before all this, and it does not, are you ready to last through the midnight? Because we don't know the hour of his return. He says that we are to be like the 2 wise servants who received bags of silver. And that we must use our resources well. The resources that we have been given, we must use it well so that even more can be given to us. It's not for us to get rich. No, we need to use it well. He needs to be able to trust us with what He has given us so that He can give us more, so that we can do more for Him. Because everything that these two wise servants did was for their master. They didn't do it for themselves. We don't know the hour we will have in abundance to do what He has called us to do. But from those who do nothing with the resources that He gave them, even what little they have will be taken away. There was this one wicked servant who didn't use the bag of silver that he got. He buried it in the ground. So He reminds them, and He reminds us in Matthew 25, there's going to be a final day of judgment that is coming. And it seems to me that what the resources that we have, the resources that we have been given, what little or what much resources we have, that we should use those to serve those who have nothing. We should use it to serve those who have nothing because that matters to Jesus. Matters to Jesus. You know about the servant who was given the one bag of silver who seemed to act in selfishness. He was more worried about himself and about his own life that he hid it away in the ground. Jesus said this about him in Matthew 25 verse 30. He says, now throw this useless servant into outer darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. You know, why do I believe that Jesus, why do I believe that the way we serve the poor and those who have nothing matters to Jesus? Why do I believe it? I believe it based on what I read in Matthew 24 and 25, that on the final day of judgment, Jesus says He's going to gather the nations of the world around His throne. And in chapter 25 verse 33, He says He will place the sheep at His right hand and He will place the goats at His left hand. And then the King will say to those on His right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, verse 34, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. Verse 35, for I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me. He says to the people on His right, you can come into the kingdom of my Father. And the goats on His left, He sent them to destruction because they did none of the things that I just read to you. Using well the resources that we have, much or little resources matters to Jesus. I read it right here in chapter 25 of Matthew. And as we serve those who have nothing, it matters to Jesus. And I believe that even during this time of this sealed judgment that brings a black horse and poverty and injustice and scarcity in this time, the church still has to be the church. That is going to have to be our response, because it doesn't matter what the world is going to do. It doesn't matter what the Antichrist is going to do. Because we are not afraid of the Antichrist. We should not be intimidated by the Antichrist, because we have a God who is bigger than the Antichrist, who gives us power over the Antichrist, and it doesn't matter what he does. We're not going to run and hide and be in fear of the Antichrist. We're going to have an opportunity for the church to be the church and to minister during this time and to show the world. Doesn't matter what happens, that Jesus is King, that Jesus is with us. That's what He said, go into all the world, make disciples of all the nations. He says, what did He say? I will be with you to the very end of the age. I will be with you to the very end of the age. That means through the tribulation, I will be with you. While you make disciples of the world, I will be with you. That's how I understand Matthew 25, Matthew 24 and Matthew 25 in its context. That's how I understand it. You know, I heard some Christians say that they're going to make lots of debts because the rapture is going to come and they're going to leave all the debts to the bank to sort out. They're going to leave all the debts behind. If that's what you believe, you might be in for a very big surprise. Might be in for a very big surprise. When Jesus came onto the scene in Luke chapter 4, he said this about his mission and his ministry. Verse 18, he said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, that the blind will see, and that the oppressed will be set free." And that the time of the Lord's favor has come. And Jesus passed his mission and his ministry on to us. We must preach good news to the poor. And sometimes we give people just a handout. That's not what Jesus meant. And somebody asks for a R5 and we give them a R5 and we think we've done our duty to serve the poor. That's not what Jesus meant. He didn't mean that we should just give people a handout. It's easy to give someone a cup of soup or a meal and that person goes. That's not what Jesus meant. He means that we must do something more than that. We must preach the good news to them. We must minister to them. We must disciple them. We must bring them to a place where they need to find Jesus. Because they are as lost as anybody else if they continue in their sin. We must minister to them. The black horse will bring poverty and injustice and scarcity. And even in that time, the saints will have an opportunity for ministry. But why wait until then? Why wait? You know, I have to admit, as a pastor, sometimes I think the only thing that we should do as a church is to preach the gospel. And to me, the gospel means you need to find Jesus, and that's it. And to a degree, maybe there's nothing wrong with believing that. But Jesus said it's more than that. In fact, I was reading a scripture with our leaders on Thursday evening from Isaiah 58, and you can read it on your own. And the people of God said, "Lord, we are doing everything that you want us to do. We are fasting. We are seeking your word. We are seeking you. We are following your laws. We are doing everything that you have called us to do. We are doing that, and why are you not answering our prayers? Why don't you hear from heaven? Why does it seem like you are ignoring us while we are surrendering our lives in service to you?" And God says from heaven, "Do you know the fasting that I require? It's not the fasting that you are doing. The fasting that I require is to feed those who are hungry, is to release those who are oppressed, to break the chains of injustice. That's the fasting that I require." And he goes on to say that then, when you do all of these things, then I will bless you. Then I will pour out my spirit. Or then I will give you. Then I will take care of you. Then I will bless. Then only. He places this responsibility on us right now as we serve in this world to do more than what we are maybe doing right now. For us as a church, that means we have to do more. For us as a church, that means we have to completely change what we are doing. Because right now, we are not serving the poor as Jesus wants us to serve them. We have to completely change that as we go forward. Because one day, we're going to stand before the throne of God. He's going to say to the sheep on his right, "Go into my Father's kingdom." That's your blessing. He's going to say to the goats, "You go to destruction." That's your choice. Why wait until then? Poverty is rising right now. And we are living in complete freedom to serve and minister to the needs of the poor. We have an opportunity right now to do it. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your word this morning and for speaking to our hearts.